Hello and welcome to Not All Fire. I'm Jude Evans.
And I'm Joe Hart.
This week we're both in hotels. Again, we're not actually that far away. I can look to my right and I am seeing London, and you are somewhere over in London.
Yeah, if I look out the window, I can see you, Jude. I can see that Premier Inn up on the hill. Hello. I'm in Canary Wharf, so I'm East London as well. So I'm over this way. Yeah, so
you really aren't that far away. We could have almost done a live recording if we weren't both stupidly busy.
Mad, innit? Yeah. But yeah, I'm in London all this week. I'm in a hotel for 5 nights on the bounce. Busy business stuff kicking off, you know.
It's business. It's business time. I don't know if you'll know that.
I thought you were doing Taking Care of Business, which is a bit of a classic song, but I don't know that one. You just made that one up.
No. It's from... Now, I can't remember the name. It will probably come to me at some point during the episode, and I'll sit there and go, it's these guys.
There we go.
It's not the Mighty Boosh. It's... we will continue to chat whilst I'll do some really, really random Googling to try and work out who it is that I've just been singing.
Good. Okay.
You sent me a video of a fire yesterday. That's been all over the news.
Do you know what that video was? It was recorded from my own iPhone as well. I recorded that on Tower Bridge. I was walking home last night.
Yeah.
But then, it then made the news today. It was a big old fire, wasn't it? This Renano recycling centre down in Bermondsey. But yeah, I was at the IET, the Institute of Energy and Technology yesterday. I thought I'll have a walk down Tower Hill. It's a nice enough day. So I was walking along the South Bank and I heard sirens and saw LFB flying along. And then I had a look up and there's a massive column of smoke in the sky. And it had literally just started. As it happened, I was on Tower Bridge looking that way because I'm looking over towards Canary Wharf, and I saw this fire start, and then it's this massive bloody 100 firefighters situation.
Yeah, 100 firefighters. Landman Way in Bermondsey at 5:30 yesterday afternoon. They brought the flames on. I probably actually, if I wasn't staying in it, I wasn't staying in Essex last night. Last night I was staying in Portsmouth. But if I'd have been staying in Essex last night, I would literally have been able to see it out the window, I think, probably, because they only brought it under control by midnight. So it was burning for a long old time.
Yeah. I can still see it. So I was in the apartment here last night at 10:30, 11 o'clock, and it was in the air. The smoke had drifted over this way. Yeah, it's a big one. But do you know what it is yet, though? Is it now in the news and they're reporting on it, or is it still just...
No, they've just said it was... Oh, but that was Flight of the Conchords that I was singing in Cape, for those people who were trying to work out what I was singing. It just says a recycling depot in southeast London. Rail services using the line adjacent to the burning building were disrupted, but about to normal. Large capacity long distance hose lines were used. One would assume they had problems with water then. It's a fire involving a large amount of refuse. The roof of the warehouse unit, a van and a car were also destroyed by the fire. That is basically about it. That's on the BBC News website.
You could smell it. You could smell it was a waste fire, like a recycling centre. Without having read that, I knew that.
It's a horrible smell, isn't it? Yeah.
Plasticky, horrible. It's like fire in a bin. It's just that multiplied, 10, 100, 1,000-fold. My colleague who I was with yesterday, I texted her and said, "Oh, careful on your train home," because she goes south, and she ended up in the middle of it.
Yeah.
And the train conductor made an announcement and said, "Please beware, London is currently burning. You might want to take your phones out and record." And they went right past it. So I've got an even better video than the one you sent that Catherine managed to get on the train. But yeah,
well done, Catherine.
Yeah, good work, Catherine. Doesn't listen to the podcast, so she'll never hear that. But yeah, good work to...
I mean, to be fair, I do say it to her whenever I see her in real life. So
yeah. Weirdly, though, her dad occasionally listens to the podcast. So well done to the whole... Dad. Well done to the whole Catherine family. It was a bloody big one though, to be fair. And yeah, as I say, I could see it from Tower Bridge, and it looked quite nasty, and then you could smell it, and I instinctively knew what it was. And then I got myself over here, and even quite late last night, 10:30, 11, even up close to midnight, I was still up and about, and you could feel the smoke coming in. There was things saying close your windows. Then yeah, it was quite significant, and it happened at 5:30 in the afternoon, which I always think is
5 in the afternoon.
I don't know why I think that's a weird time for a fire, but it feels like a weird time for a fire. Walking home from work and you see a fire of that size, it feels like that should be an overnight fire or not during the day. I think it might be because of the contrast between really dark smoke on actually quite a bright blue sky, sunny day London, and everybody's looking at it, and there's thousands of people on the bridge staring. Bit of a weird observation, but yeah,
it's almost like they're closing up for the end of the night, and they've just kind of been a bit short, perhaps, with doing some of their checks or switching things off.
Must be staffed at that time, recycling centres. I don't know what staffing levels are at these sites, but yeah, no, that was a big one nonetheless.
I don't know if there's been any more fires. I've not seen too many on the news that have been significant. I think there was a flat fire in London yesterday, but I don't think it was particularly significant. Other bits of news we've got: the fire risk assessor consultation closes next Thursday at midnight. Thursday the 18th at midnight.
Is that the first of our current tranche of consultations closing down?
Yeah, ADB is 1st of July at midnight. So yeah, if you are a fire risk assessor or you have involvement, please, you can't moan if you don't have input. And then the only other thing I did see on the news, which I thought was really quite interesting, was actually about prison safety. And unbeknownst to me, because I don't really work in prisons an awful lot, but a couple of years ago, the government had promised that all prisons would be made fire safe, so would comply with fire safety legislation, as in they would have smoke detectors in every cell by 2027. And it appears that has not happened. It appears that earlier this year they reckon it's not going to be completed until early 2030. And they reckon that there's nearly 19,000 prisoners who are still held in cells which do not have smoke detection.
Right. Okay. Yeah.
Now, for some reason last week, and I'm not entirely sure why, and I still can't work out why, even when we were talking about it earlier, and I still can't remember why I was looking at it. But it might have been something to do with smoke hoods, actually. But in prisons, they have a fire in the cell and they keep the prisoners basically all in their cells, and then they go in and put the fires out. So they're all basically trained as almost firefighters, and they go in with BA and they go in and extinguish the fire.
Yeah.
Which is great, but if you haven't got a smoke detector that alerts you to the fact that there's a fire in your cell, how are you going to do?
It undermines that strategy, doesn't it, of not evacuating. Of course, we know that the Prisons Act gives a derogation for Regulation B1 for prisons. So it says that B1 doesn't apply to prisons. So means of warning and escape, our typical standard, doesn't apply. So you can have a different approach, and of course need a different approach in prisons. And in my experience of working on a few, I've done some in Australia, some in the UK, so I've got a bit of a varied mix of different approaches. But as you described, quite right, generally it's not a alarm goes off,
people leave.
Doesn't sound like there is an alarm a lot of the time anyway. A lot of it is on the basis of observation from people in the cells or alerting someone, staff, and then only evacuating if absolutely necessary. Other than that, it's kind of staged evacuation and it's intervention. One thing I'm aware of with detectors in prisons that they have issues with is they have very strict rules about having tamper-proof detectors only, and also not having any ligature points in cells. So you have to have flush. We had that with
we had that with all the mental health ones. One of the new mental health establishments I went in is fully vested, so it doesn't have detection in. It's got a metal plate in the ceiling with like a grate, and then above it is the VESDA.
Right.
The very early smoke detection activation. Very early smoke detect. I always get confused as to what the A stands for.
Yeah, me too. I don't know what it stands for, actually.
Very early smoke detection. Something. Oh, kind of activation is what I normally think I say, but.
And alarm?
It might be. Very early smoke detection and alarm. That probably that makes more sense. My brain's very tired. I've been driving again today, so.
Jude, I'm going to have to Google it live. What does VESDA stand for? Stand by, everyone. You're never going to believe this, Jude. Very early smoke detection apparatus.
Oh, apparatus. We both lost.
It's like a pub quiz where you get the answer and you're kicking yourselves. It's like, we should have got that, shouldn't we?
We should have guessed. I'm never going to guess that. I hate acronyms. Everybody who knows me knows I hate acronyms because I can never remember what they stand for. And all the different clients I work for have got the same acronyms but mean different things, and that I get really frustrated with.
Yeah.
I can tell you that since the government first accepted almost 20 years ago that vital upgrades were needed to fire safety in prisons, 11 prisoners have died in cell fires.
Right. Okay. Wow.
I think that's a lot.
Yeah. I did a little bit of work on business I used to own. Did a lot of surveys in prisons and identified lots of defects. So compartmentation is a big problem, often in old heritage buildings, and things built under public schemes and all that. So I was going to say to a lower standard, but I don't mean that. I mean, all the construction defects you get in public funded buildings. But also, I've done some research into prison fires themselves about vapes being given out. I think I've done that on the show here.
You have, and I can probably, because maybe this is what's quoted in, maybe your work's quoted in this article.
Oh, that'd be nice.
Well, so I'm not gonna. There's a specific fire and a death that they talk about within the article I'm reading, which is a lady who died in a fire, and it's not really very nice. They did say that the Ministry of Justice tests conducted in 2007 found that a prisoner will lose consciousness within 7 minutes of a cell fire breaking out and die within 8 minutes. And this particular prison cell, they didn't actually manage to access for 33 minutes because the door handle was too hot to touch.
Wow. Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah. So, however, cell fires have soared by 124% over the last 5 years. In the year ending March 2025, there were an average of 8 fires a day in prisons in England and Wales, mostly caused by vapes.
Caused by vapes. Interesting.
According to the Fire Safety Regulator, the Crown Premises Fire Safety Inspectorate, or CPFSI, yes, another acronym for today.
Why not, eh? Why not?
Prison fires have increased significantly from 1,380 a year to 2,932 in the last 5 years. That's doubled. Even I can work out that's doubled. In the year ending March 2025, there were 534 fire-related injuries in prisons, down slightly on the previous year, but a significant increase compared to 135 injuries 5 years before. That's massive. So, but it does say almost 7 in 10 were caused by vapes, although the Ministry of Justice is rolling out a tamper-proof vape pen to try and tackle the issue. Now, that's the one we've talked about, isn't it?
Yeah, I think that might be my work as it happens. Or at least, part of that discussion came from some work that I did. Yeah. Which was quite interesting about the actual, well, get to the end of the article, I can tell you a bit more about that, because I know
that is literally the article ends with almost 7 in 10 were caused by vapes, so the Ministry of Justice is running out a tamper-proof vape pen to try and tackle the issue. And that's the end of the article.
Well, all right, let me furnish a little bit of research detail then, because I did a research project 2, maybe 3 years ago about vapes, and it was specifically in prisons. And
I think it was 2 years ago, because I'm sure we discussed it on the pod.
I think we did. We've definitely done it at some point here, I'm sure. And it was an interesting piece of work. It came about by accident, really, but we ended up on it. And no one, me and my team, knew about vapes. None of us vape or have vaped or know how they work. So the first thing we did was we got some vapes and we did what we call a mechanical autopsy. We just took them apart.
You took them apart and broke everything.
Yeah. And to be honest, that's a really good way of getting to know like the fire risk of something, because we said, okay, where's the heating element? What's hot? What could potentially cause a fire? And we went through all this, like a vape itself has a liquid part to it, and then it has a heating element, and it heats the liquid, forms a vapor, and that's what people inhale and then breathe out. But the heating element's the crucial part for fire. So we did this, like, we started the research the research project, by doing a mechanical autopsy. So we took vapes apart and understood the types of heating coil was the bit we were interested in. Then we did this like fire risk assessment thing of realistically, how could that coil interface with an ignition source? Is it if there's a fault in the vape and it touches the plastic on the side, melts the plastic, causes a fire? Is it if you shove something into the vape, you can cause an incendiary fire or something? And we had about 12 or 13 of these cases. And I said, give me one of them vapes, pass it here. and I put it on the floor and I stamped on it with my boot, right? And I picked it up and I pressed the button and I shoved it onto a pillow and the pillow erupted into fire. And I was like, bollocks to the rest of this research. I don't know forget if I'm allowed to swear on the show or not. Who knows? I said something to this research. Look how easy it is. It's horrendous. And literally, the heating element is something that if you snap it, you can press a button, you get a heating element.
And it's just there. Yeah.
Now that was a huge concern to the Ministry of Justice because they said this is not
unsurprising.
Only fire.
Yeah.
It is. You can weaponize that. You can use it. You can drip drugs into that, and there's all sorts of other things that come in. Now, the solution and these tamper-proof vapes are actually incredibly good because what they do is they take the heating element and they flip it upside down. So by designing it on a ceramic heating coil and you have it upside down, it means there's no exposed heating element. You would have to pull the thing apart, do a mechanical autopsy as it happens, put it together to create this thing that can create fire. The risk of that is no different to pulling a radio or a toaster apart or something you might have lying around and do it. So it's quite an interesting piece of work in the end. And it was a good example for research of having this really best laid plan. And eventually I was like, give me one of them and pass me a pillow, just shove it on it and the thing erupts into flames. It was, I think I sprayed it with deodorant, pressed it with a thing and it just erupted. So,
I mean, the whole thing is you have to think about, you're not necessarily thinking scientifically. You're thinking in a, what's the word? You're almost thinking in the realms of chaos. If you want to create the most chaos and the most chaotic scenario, what would be those worst case scenarios? Having a hot iron and having some plastic and having this and having that, and you sort of kind of sit there and you go, you're right, spraying loads of spray around, because then all of a sudden we've got deodorant and we've got a spray can and we've got a flamethrower and we've got all these kind of things.
Yeah. And funnily enough, that's exactly what my research group do a lot of. It's something we do very well. It's not a, let's think first principles and use a scientific method. That's valuable if you're doing theoretical research, but when you're dealing with fire, it's, what happens if you leave an iron on? I don't know, let's switch an iron on, throw stuff at it. Let's switch an iron on and drop it on some paper, see what happens.
Switch an iron on in your hotel room, put it really next to the wall and see how long it takes for the smoke detector to go off. Or in your case, you've got sprinklers. I don't have sprinklers in my hotel.
I have. Do you know, if we find time tonight, I know we've got some technical questions and some shout outs and stuff, but if we find time, I might describe the fire in this hotel because it's actually, I've been
the fire safety. You mean the fire safety? Not
safety is in inverted commas. Fire. I think. Yeah.
Well, that's so. Yeah. So, firstly, let's do a shout out. Firstly,
okay.
So this is another shout out to Future Rob. Some of you who've listened for a while will remember that in January this year we had an email from a guy called Rob, who is an ex-firefighter from Grimsby, who now does pacifier bits and pieces and door inspections and various things. And he emailed, we gave him a shout out for Future Rob because he said he'd started listening at the very start. So now
I remember Rob.
So now he's caught up. So now he'd caught up to the episode where we gave Future Rob a shout out. So although we say Future Rob, very, very soon he's going to be present tense Rob. So
I think we even called the episode Hello Future Rob.
Hello Future Rob. I think we might have done.
Knowing he one day would catch up and get that shout out. And I think we thought it'd be funny to see how quickly that happens. He's accelerated though, right? He's
doing really well.
First 100 episodes since January.
Yeah, I suppose, it's June. A few months, but no. So he's been so Future Rob says hi and we say hi back to Future Rob. So that's a shout out there.
So what do we do now? Because Rob now is still in the past.
Our time traveler Rob.
Our time traveling friend Rob. He will listen to this episode in the future at some point.
The future. Yes, he will listen to it at some point, but very soon he will become present tense Rob.
Present Rob. Good. Well, Rob also said some nice things, didn't he, about the show, and he enjoys listening, etc., etc. So thank you for all that, Rob. You're a nice Easter egg, Rob. We like you for that because I quite like to see where you're at in the timeline, in the space-time continuum. So I wonder what it's like in Grimsby in January. I hope it's fine.
I can tell you exactly what it's like in Grimsby in January. It's very, very cold and normally quite wet.
I was going to say, be nice, Jude, because Rob's our friend now, so don't start slagging off Grimsby.
No. I'm not slagging off Grimsby. So Cleethorpes is right next to Grimsby, and so it's about an hour away from where I live. And so occasionally we will go up there and walk the dogs on the beach because from October to April, you can walk the dogs on the beach there. And then from April to October, you can't. So because it's holiday season. So sometimes we go there just to walk the dogs down the beach and get a chippy tea and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Grimsby fish.
Nothing wrong with Grimsby. I love it. Well, Rob, thanks for listening. Thanks for checking it out and catching up. And at some point, you'll listen to this show. It's currently June, but yeah, we'll listen. We'll have you on at some point to hear how you get on. Yeah. What does Rob do? I know we're doing a whole Rob segment here, but
we're doing a whole Rob segment.
He does fire doors now.
He's an ex-firefighter.
Yeah.
And now he does fire door inspections, and I think he said some passive fire inspections. Let me go back to his email. Yes, he drives around the country doing fire doors and a bit of fire stopping. But it's a start, and we've all got to start somewhere. And do you know what? Getting into fire engineering by doing something like that, it's brilliant.
Hey, well, okay, I have a question for Rob. I'm going to completely play with the timelines then, and I want Rob to answer this in future when he hears this episode. So God knows when I'll get an answer. Because today I did a fire door survey here in London. I've had loads of fun. I don't mind them. I like getting out and about. Brilliant chat with the bloke that showed me around. He goes fishing, and we're sharing fishing stories. But here's my question for future Rob. And Rob, I need an answer when you hear this in future, and then you can send it back to me. Gap gauges for fire door surveys. I want to know what people's favourite ones are, because I have 3, right? And none of them are very good, and I need a better solution, right? The first gap gauge I have is basically just imagine a knife that goes in your pocket. It's just a big pointy thing, and it puts a hole in your jeans, and it's a pain, and I hate it.
No, the one with the slidey bit in the middle that gives you the thing.
No, that's option 2, Jude. Okay, so option 1 is just a point, just a spike. In fact, I've got it around here somewhere in my bag. It's just a spike. Very valuable because you can just put it in, it gives you the answer, but puts a hole in your pocket. So annoying. Option 2 is the one with the little slidey bar that you mentioned, Jude. You put it in, it slides, and it's like from Amazon. Everyone's got one, about 12 quid. It's gold with a black handle. Pretty good. I like that.
Still put a hole in your trousers, though. Weighs a ton.
Still put a hole in your trousers and weighs a ton. The third option that I was recommended is a set of mechanics brake disc.
Shims.
Are they called shims?
Shims.
Okay,
yeah. They're called shims.
I was told
Shout out for Lisa. Shim. Yes, shims. Yeah, because you use them for gauging spark plugs.
Right. Okay. Yeah. And there's like a little foldy thing. You pull it out, and there's a 1 mil and a 2 mil and a 3 mil and a 4 mil.
Shims.
Helpful. Doesn't put a hole in your jeans, but you've got to fiddle about with it, and you've got to put it in, and that one doesn't quite go. Maybe it's half one. You've got to prat about with it. So, future Rob, here's my question to you. I would love for you to answer. What is the best way of doing a gap gauge? Is it just that you have to pick the least of those 3 annoyances, or is there a better solution? Because I really need an answer.
Yeah. So, yeah. I mean, the plastic ones that are the wedges, the little wedges, they're okay, but they dent after a while. And although they're light.
And they bend, and I think they lose tolerance over time. Yeah. I prefer metal because I have less faith that it's going to fail. Having said that, the metal one I want to do an experiment because I want to heat it and cool it and see if that affects it. If you do a survey in a freezer, does it change if you do it in a forge? Does the metal expand and contract?
So, all right, let's design the perfect fire door gauge. I don't care what measurement it is. I just want to know it's between 2 and 4.
Very good point. Yes.
I don't care. All I want to know, that's why, to a certain degree, I quite like the plastic ones, because it's like, if it's in that gauge, it's easy. The metal ones don't have that. They just turn around and say, yeah, it's 3.6. And then you sit there and you go, what tolerance? Because I can measure it. And I point at the door that's behind me that is a fire door, because I am sitting in front of my fire door in the hotel because it's the only place to get Wi-Fi. If I measure it at the top, if I measure it in the middle, and if I measure it at the bottom, I'm going to get 3 different readings. What's the tolerance? Am I to 100th? Am I to 1 mil? What's my tolerance? But do I care?
Well, the do I care question is useful, right? Because we say between 2 and 4 mil, but do we care if it's less than 2 mil from a fire safety perspective?
Not really, do we?
Because could you then just have a lump of 4 mil anything?
So this is 5 mil, and here's my nudge where it's 4 mil. If it's more than that, it's a binner. If it's less than that, happy days.
Because then you can just have a little block of anything and you just shove it in. If it doesn't fit because it's more than 4 mil, no, which way around would it be?
If it goes through too far, like if I lose my hand when I try and put it down through the side of the door, which we've all been there.
Yeah. Okay. Not all fire team, everyone who listens, I need designs for a good gap gauge, and we'll design it and build it in the lab. And future Rob, I need an answer for what you personally use if you do this all day long, because I've done it for one day today and I'm a bit frustrated by the tech. But my answer to you, Jude, is I want a drone that goes and scans it all and does it through AI. That's what I want to do.
I mean, I've done a lot of fire door surveys, and when I go to a building and the fire door survey, because I'm doing a fire door assessment, so I'm assessing every door. So I have a very big, long criteria of questions, which is it's not 7 questions. I've got like 30 questions per door, which is why I hate doing them, because it just drives me up the wall. And I designed it. I wrote it. And it's useful information. I just hate doing them. But all of my team do occasional door surveys and bits and pieces. And we all use door gauges. And you're absolutely right. Do you use a shim? Where you can do we care? We just want something that's approximate, because also I've been going out, so I've been to 4 buildings under construction in the last 2 days. And we're putting doors in.
Yeah.
And it's wet and it's cold. Well, it's not cold, but it's wet, certainly. There's no heating on in the building. They install the doors are fine. They switch the heating on, all the doors expand, everything's out. Today it's out, tomorrow it's in.
Yeah. Hence the periodic checks in resi flat entrances of 3 months or whatever it is. Is it 3 months for flats?
Every 3 months for communal doors in HRBs. And taller flats. And then annually. Best endeavours.
Yeah. Oh, that was good. Okay, Rob, if you do listen to this in the future and you have an insight, let me know. I'm genuinely interested. And anyone else who's listening, if you have an insight, I would genuinely love to hear it. What kit do you use for these?
Yeah. I think so. Well, that ended up being far more technical than I thought it was going to be.
Yeah.
We just designed our not all fire door gauge.
Oh, we could put a logo on it and give it out to listeners. Jude, don't give me an idea, because I'll run with it. Okay, I'll have 1,000 ordered by tonight.
You say that. I've only just got badges from you.
You already asked for them 2 years ago. Give me a chance. Come on.
I will be giving out badges at the Women Talking Fire conference next Friday, the 19th. For those people who are going. I'm hosting.
Yeah, you are. Oh, does everyone get badges? Are you giving out not all fire badges? Were you there?
I'm going to give Dame Judith Hackett a set of badges.
Very good. I'm sure they will go immediately into the bin, but if she does ever wear it, that'd be lovely.
You know me, I'm the most optimistic person in the world.
Yeah, no, just a realist over here. Yeah, no, even if she smiles and says thank you very much, they're going straight in the bin.
So just pass it on to her PA or somebody, whoever she's there with. I said I popped in to see Andrea last night. Shout out to Andrea, who's been organising it, and Nicola, obviously, who's been organising it, and the rest of the committee. I popped in to see Andrea last night when I was on my way down to Portsmouth, and I said, she said, we need to get a photograph, and I was just like, how long is Dame Judith Hackett's doing the keynote speech first? How long is she going to stay after she's done the keynote speech? And we were like, we better do the photograph quite quickly in coffee break.
Yeah, this is not aspersions against Judith Hackett at all. She's a fantastic speaker. I've seen her speak, but I think if I were her, probably, and I don't mean this in a horrible way, but I think probably the first line of my speech would be start the car, because she's so incredibly busy. Having said that, I'm not trying at all to bash the conference, because it looks fantastic. I actually got a link to it the other day about what's going on next week, and it does look properly exciting.
It's really good. Yeah.
I'm disappointed I can't be there, unfortunately, but no, it does look fantastic. Yeah.
One day you'll get to one of them. But yes.
What does hosting involve for you? Because in my mind it was a pub quiz, but that's the night before, isn't it? So what do you do on the night before? I
am indeed hosting a pub quiz for the meal. I think there's about 25 of us that are eating the night before that are staying. So no, I'm just going to be at the front. I will welcome everybody to the conference. I will thank all the sponsors. Obviously, is what you have to do as host. You have to thank the sponsors a lot. I've got about 5 minutes to talk. I'm allowed to say some stuff right at the very start. I've already started working on my words, and I will introduce the people, manage the questions. Andrea's going to be my dolly with the mic on the floor.
Nice.
So she's going to be out doing that. Just kind of be silly up on front of the stage in front of really important people in our industry.
I'm going to give you a compliment, Jude. Are you prepared? Are you sitting down?
Go on.
And I'll make sure it's edited out later so no one else ever hears it. I think that's you're in your element doing that. I think you're like made for that role, because you're very, very good at it. And it's not it's a different skill to a podcast, but in a live environment, I think you're fantastic. So I think you're a good choice for it, to be honest.
Thank you very much.
Yeah. Now, editor, get rid of that 30 seconds, won't you? Ugh, can't have that on Spotify.
Well, one day you'll actually come to a conference that I will be hosting at. I will persuade you to finally come to one of them.
Yeah.
We try and do it. I think we're already talking about doing a Northern one next year again, like we did the Northern one last year. So hopefully we'll get you to come to one of them, and you can see us talk, and maybe we'll even get you to come up and talk.
Oh, blimey. Do you know, isn't it bloody hard organising these things, though? Because I'm doing one with the IFE at the minute. Geographically, it's easier because we're a branch based in Yorkshire and Humberside. Where are we going to do it? Well, it's going to be Leeds. We're going to do it in Yorkshire and Humberside. So that decision's made for us. But isn't it just difficult? I don't envy you guys planning it. The venue, the catering, the parking, who's going to speak? Everything. How much do we charge for a ticket? What do you get for a ticket? What if people don't turn up? How many seats do we want? Oh, is it too hot or too cold in the room? Every minute decision.
Are there enough food choices? I mean, one of the things that and also one of the things that me and Andrea talk a lot about is the fact that people leave it to the last minute to buy tickets.
Yes, absolutely. Because you look at it and you think we're only 50% sold and it's happening in a week, and then you suddenly go, we haven't got enough tickets because they buy it in the last minute. Yeah,
they buy it in the last minute.
But then, having done these, the advice is always you must charge for them, because if it's free, people will sign up forgettingly and not turn up, and you have lower numbers. So you should charge a few quid. Yeah. You don't want to charge 500 quid for a conference if you don't have to cover expenses. But yeah, it is a difficult balance, to be fair. It is stressful. Yeah. I don't envy it at all. Yeah.
No, but it's going to be really fun. It is going to be really, really fun. I'm quite looking forward to it. So.
Yeah. Oh, before we do some technicals, let me plug a couple of bits. Then I might as well, shamelessly. Next week's my next IFE webinar, the free webinars that we do next Tuesday.
That's what you're doing. That's what you're doing next Tuesday, then.
Oh, that's what I'm doing next Tuesday. I was trying to work out before the show. I'll know what I'm doing, and yeah, I'm doing that bloody webinar.
I thought I was going to say, I'm sure it's webinar time.
Yeah, it is middle of the month. Smoke control this time. Very, very high numbers. Everyone's interested in it. We're not so interested in the numbers. It doesn't matter. And when you present, you don't see who's in. So after I get a report of how many have been, it's often a few hundred. But we're always interested in what people care about, and people have signed up for smoke control. So it's clearly a pertinent topic. So I'm going to do a couple of calcs, nothing too intense, and some design guidance and that. But it's free. Sign up next Tuesday.
And it's on YouTube as well, isn't it? So
they do go onto YouTube after, I think. Yeah, the committee put them together, and I'm not on LinkedIn. So much. Well, I'm not on LinkedIn anymore at all, but the committee share snippets of it now on the thing, so you can get a bit of an insight and find the timestamp of when I've talked about a certain thing, which is, that gets a lot of traction these days. There's a few thousand followers on that, I think now, a couple of thousand. So yeah, they do well. And then a couple of weeks after, I'm over in Belfast with Northern Ireland branch doing a I think that's a paid event, but I'm doing a couple of hour session on the 24th over at Ulster. So if you're over that part of the world, come and check it out. Yeah, I'll be around for the day.
I'll just come back from Portugal.
I'm going to go to the Titanic Museum because might as well.
And, that's your interest. Eventually, your book. Eventually, that book will come out as well.
A book, you say, Jude? Are you asking me to plug a book? Okay, write off the rest of the show, and I'll talk about books.
No, we're going to ask. I want you to answer this technical. I've got a couple of technical questions before you go.
Right, you are. Yes.
Technical question number one.
First time I'm hearing this. Because you asked me before the show, do I want it in advance? I said, no, do it live because it's chaotic and I enjoy it. So first time I've heard this question.
Well, welcome to some chaos. We're doing a retrospective fire strategy for a building that's a heritage building that's been converted into flats. It was converted into flats in about 2010. Mm-hmm. And they've got some rough drawings and they've got a rough document, but they've asked us to do a retrospective fire strategy because they want to do fire stopping. They want to make sure the building is safe. Now, the previous fire strategy is a REBA D document.
Right. Okay.
Yeah. So we already know that a REBA D is the equivalent of what we now class as a REBA Stage 3, which is kind of this is what we think we would like.
Yes. Yeah.
There's literally, that's the only document. There's nothing further. We've not been able to find any other information.
And that was for the refurb in 2010, presumably.
Yes, so it was turned from an office building, commercial building, into residential.
Okay, yeah.
Within this document, there is a line that says, as agreed with building control, we're using 12 meters for single travel distance instead of 9 meters, with no justification and no other information.
Yeah.
And they've designed this building so all of the single travel distances are 12 meters, not 9 meters, including internally in dwellings, internally in lobbies. There's no protected lobbies where it's 12 meters, where it should be 9 meters, as in you walk into a flat and you've got a protected lobby around you. It's all 12 meters. And we've gone in and gone, where does this 12 meters come from?
Sure.
And they reference 5588, and we've looked through 5588 part 1, part 0, all the different parts, and it all says 9 meters.
Yeah.
And we're like, where's this come from, and is it legal?
Okay. So the crux of the question
is
go on.
Do I, in my retrospective fire strategy, say all of your flats are wrong and they all now need to be protected because it's 9 meters, not 12 meters? Or do we turn around and say, as per the original fire strategy, 12 meters is fine?
Yeah. I would do option C. I would do neither option A nor option B. I would do something else. And it's a tricky one. It's a tricky question, right? Because at the heart of that decision, at the heart of that question, there is a point that somebody made a decision in 2010 and we don't know why they made that decision. I'm certainly not aware of a clause that allows you to go up to 12 instead of 9. So I don't think they've drawn that from 5588 or ADB or any guidance, or 999 or whatever it was, any guidance at the time, right? So you can't trace the provenance of that decision. As discussed with building control, terrible bit of strategy work. Put the email in, tell us how you decided it, because it may be that the designer convinced building control through a really legitimate means. This is why we're going to do it. And I have a solution in mind for why you sometimes push 9 meters and above it, and it's a bit techie and hard to describe, but it is doable. You know, there is that 9 meters comes from somewhere. There's ways of describing it different way and making it work, right? So on that basis, I wouldn't go with, well, it was okay in 2010, so we'll stick with it. Because what we're doing in that situation is taking ownership of someone's decision without knowing why they made the decision in the first place, right? Okay. Building control, it might have been on a Friday afternoon, it might have been a bad building control officer, who knows? Whatever reason, decision was made. Nor would I rely on guidance at the time, because that's not the point of a retrospective strategy. The point of a retrospective
you're comparing it to guidance now, and guidance now says 9 meters.
Yeah, and in truth, what we're doing with the retro is we are assessing the risk today as we stay in that building and sleep in the building tonight. So we would rightfully use current guidance if we had to. And that's why my option C is to do an analysis on it. Are we happy with 12 meters? When I do a retro, I almost forget sometimes that it's an existing building. I look at it on plan and go, would 12 meters work in this situation? Yes or no? Whether it's existing or whether it's new, it doesn't matter to me. It's a decision based on the flat as it stands. You can be influenced by but it's existing and it's hard to do and people live there. Forget about that for a second. Just look at it objectively and scientifically using first principles. Does it work? Yeah, yes or no? So I'd kind of be option C. I wouldn't immediately say you need to retrofit because the guidance they've used was wrong at the time. Nor would I say I'm just going to blanket apply today. We'd use 9 meters and this and that, whatever, 15 in some cases. I'd look at the risk. And the biggest risk for me I'm guessing they're open plan, are they, without hallways?
Well, no, not all of them. There's 5 different archetypes. Some of them are single story, some of them are 2-story maisonettes, some of them are 3 stories, some of them have galleries.
Right, okay, yeah.
There's a real mix, and they've gone, okay, for this type, we've got a protected lobby. For this one particular flat, we've put sprinklers in. We don't know why they put sprinklers in, because it doesn't seem to fit. It's exactly the same as this flavour here, but it doesn't seem to fit any criteria. They've just put sprinklers in it.
Yeah.
We've got other flats that are just studio flats.
Yeah.
We've got other flats that are studio flats that then you have to go up to stairs and there's a gallery.
Yeah.
It's a real kind of, it's a really interesting architectural building with some really weird decisions that have been made in it.
Heritage refit. And do you know what? Fire strategies weren't what they are today back in 2010. You know, that they were a very different beast. They were serving a different purpose. But yeah, my decision architecture there would remain. It would be to look at safety wise, not compliance at time of construction, compliance today. It would just be, am I comfortable with 12 meters? That is a a 33% increase over the allowable travel distance under current guidance? Do I have a 33% allowance elsewhere in the design? Do I have things I can offset? Obviously, the risk of an extended travel is it's going to take me longer to get out of the building. Is the building in any way safer than I'd otherwise expect? Sprinklers? Is there additional detectors that reduce my detection time by a third, so I can have a third more travel distance? Is there something along those lines?
Sadly, all of those answers are no.
Okay. Tear it down. Start again. Option D.
Option D.
Yeah. I run up against this a lot about time of construction. You know, a building I've looked at today was built in 1820. You can't say to me in 1820 it was compliant. You go on 200 years ago. What's that, man?
I think the one that this relates to was built in 1890, and you sit there and you go, you're not going to change it, but internally it's and there's bits internally that are listed, and there's bits internally that you can't change. But you look at these individual flats, and but the very first time I went and walked around it, I was like, there's some bits in here that are quite unusual. I don't understand why they've done it. And that kind of gets me. If I can understand how something, if I can at least understand why somebody has done something, that kind of makes sense.
Yeah. You see, with an existing building that's been refitted to resi, the travel distance is pretty much locked in at 12 meters in this scenario by the sounds of things. So they're probably walls already constructed. The units are already broadly set out by the existing construction. You don't have a lot of play to resize flats.
No, they built all of the internal walls themselves. It was a big open shell. Yeah.
Okay. Because my thought process there was going to be, if I'm stuck with the 12 meters, I accept that as a design criteria. What else do I need to do to satisfy that? Which would be enhanced detection, sprinklers and stuff, because I'm trying to reduce the detection time. So you can try to put yourself in the mindset of someone making decisions. Equally, and sometimes you just can never work out how they made the decision.
No, it's quite a weird one, and the fact that there's only such low. I mean, all right, there were fire strategies around in 2010, but you're right. The fact that it's such a low level, it's not like a stage 4 or stage 5 or even a technical design that would have been back at that particular way that it was just a technical document E, RIBA stage E. It's like it's almost like, because the fact that we didn't even have fire strategy compartmentation drawings, really, we've had to do those ourselves.
I mean, the industry's evolved a lot in those 15, 16 years, hasn't it? Look how much it's evolved in the last year, let alone that. One thing from experience I can say with that, though, is if I have a risk, I do when I'm teaching training courses about external walls, I do like EWS 1 courses and whatever else, CPD days. We do an activity called Inside Out, and it's quite a good activity in actual fact. And it talks about cladding remediation and how do we fix it. And solution 1 is to fix the cladding, but sometimes solution 2 is to look inside the building.
Yeah, do the compartmentation on the inside.
Yeah, and that can sometimes help mitigate the same risk. So if you've got a risk that a fire might spread from one balcony to another, okay, if you accept that containment and you've got detection between those two flats and they're safe, if you protect the internals, you can sometimes think, well, okay, well, I'm protecting the wider building sufficiently by doing an inside solution to the outside problem, hence Inside Out. Similar in your scenario there, right? The latent risk in the building is that you've got extended travel within flats. That means if someone is evacuating their flat, they're likely to have more smoke follow them out because they're going to have to travel for slightly longer, bigger environment, bigger space, smoke going out. You might find solutions in the corridor, which feels weird, but it might impose things on, okay, the risk I've got to the wider building here is more smoke in the corridor from a bigger flat fire, later stage evacuation. Maybe I need to look at what do I do in the common area. Maybe that means extra emergency lighting to mitigate that extra smoke. Maybe that means additional smoke control in the corridor. Exactly. If you want to learn about smoke control, come to a free webinar next Tuesday. How good was that? But sometimes the solution isn't in the flat itself. It's beyond, and the risk is actually to people outside. And how do you fix that? It's a bit of experience. I've had that a few times. You know, sometimes an extended travel distance on the ground floor is fixed with an AOV on the roof. Feels weird to present that sometimes, but actually it is solving the risk that you've created with that non-compliance downstairs.
Interesting.
Yeah.
me and Chris have been working on this for quite a lot of weeks, you see. So
okay. No worries.
We were like, but we just couldn't work out where the 12 meters had come from. And we were like, it just doesn't appear to be in any guidance anywhere.
Nor am I aware that it is. I did a little piece once upon a time when I was lecturing. I was in a class and I drew it on the board and I think I'd solved it live, and it became a rubbish lecture because it was just me kind of going, everyone be quiet, I'm working on something. And I had a class of about 40 people just watching me on the whiteboard. But I tried to work out where the 9 meters comes from. And I did a thing with triangles, just really simple trig about like, because there's a diagram in ADB that shows the 9 meters corner to corner.
Yeah.
And I was trying to work out, and I won't for the life of me remember it, but you guarantee I'm going to go to the bar tonight and I'm going to try and draw it out because that's where I'm going straight after this show. I drew it, and it was, if you have a flat where the flat entrance door is in the middle and you have 9 meters in both directions, if you work out using trig the length and dimensions of that flat size was familiar. But it was a familiar number. It was
200 meters. It wasn't 280 meters squared. That's the other one that seems to be coming up all the time at the moment. 280 meters squared.
Yeah, and do you know what? I without doing the maths live, I wouldn't know if that's the answer. But let's say it does work out to be that. It was a number, and I was like, "Bastard! I've seen that number before. Why is that familiar?" And I have a feeling the 9 meters is reverse engineered to keep your compartment size below a certain figure.
It's Pythagoras, isn't it? Now now I'm sitting there thinking about it, because if that's 9 meters.
And I remember the class so well. I was in Harris Building, and I don't remember the name of the room, but I can picture the room. It's tiered seating, and someone asked me the question, and I thought I might have an answer for you live here. And I was drawing it on the board, and everyone was looking at the back of my head, thinking, "Has he lost his head?" And I was like Russell Crowe in bloody Beautiful Mind. I was scribbling it, and I was like, "Everyone, stop talking and stop thinking so loud. I'm doing something." It went on for about 10 minutes, but I did work it out, and I might be able to dig it out somewhere. So I took a picture of it, but yeah. Might be an answer in there. I mean,
in weirdly, I can sit there and I know what equation I need to do to work it out, but I can't do it live on the podcast because my brain that would indeed be watching. Well, certainly if you're listening, it'd be even more boring, as I would be doing rather than watching the top of our head, both of our heads, as we try and write things down.
It's exactly the same as that lecture. Give me an hour tonight and about 4 pints of strong lager, and I might have an answer for you.
Well, I can probably do it quicker than that.
Yeah, I'm sure.
Yeah, no, but weirdly, 280 meters squared is something that, again, that's come up. Somebody asked me that question today.
Right. Was it about fire size and hydrants and stuff?
Well, the answer ended up being obviously about hydrants, because they said to me they'd got somebody. It's one of my clients that we do compartmentation drawings for every now and again. And he dropped an email and said, one of the school projects that they're working on, this is an existing building, the client has procured it, and they said the following is apparently from BB100, but we can't recognize it, or from ADB. Dining halls and assembly spaces to be treated as separate compartments where exceeding 280 meters squared. And I was like, I don't think that's right. I think if you have a basement, you can't. It's to do with what's the expression? Hang on, I've got to email her because I have to write the answer. If you've got different occupancies in a single building, then you have to have compartmentation if anything is bigger than 280 meters squared. If the building has a basement, your maximum compartment size is 280 meters squared. And if the building is more than 100 meters away from a fire hydrant, unless you put an additional fire hydrant in, your compartment sizes can't be any bigger than 280 meters squared. But I've never seen it, and I couldn't find it in any of the guidance where it said if it's more than 280 meters squared, it has to be a single compartment. But I would probably put it a school assembly hall or a building like that as a single compartment anyway. But
yeah, I would. The only 280 meters squared I'm aware of, and what springs to mind, is the fire hydrants. But I have found the history of that. And it's in 7974 part 4 or 5, whichever one's firefighting. I forget which way around. One's detection alarm, one's firefighting. Look it up. But it's how much. It's the largest.
It's the water, isn't it?
It's the largest reasonable fire size you can put out with the water carried on an appliance without having to plug into a hydrant.
Yeah, so because if a fire hydrant is more than 100 meters, that's too far. That's why if you had a bigger compartment, you'd need to have a private hydrant that was closer.
Yeah, and that's why it says you're not bound by these hydrant rules, because you tip up in the fire appliance, not need to plug it in. You just use the water you're carrying to put the fire
appliance,
out. Yeah. And there is a little calculation in there somewhere, and I remember reading it, and there's an error in it in 7974, and that's a really vague. Me and my colleague Dom worked it out one day. We were playing with the numbers, and there's a typo in it. There's lots of typos in 7974. I'm sure we're all aware, but yeah, there was one. But yeah, the theory is a fire up to 280 meters squared in area you can put out with water carried by a typical appliance. Typical should be in italics there when I say that, because
because they're all changing sizes now, aren't they?
It's all post-war building study stuff in it. It's typical appliance at the time. But yeah, it's that then carries over and says that you don't then need a separate water source, because you put the fire out with the water you carry, and you don't need to plug into a hydrant. So who cares where the nearest hydrant is? But I'm not familiar with your one there. That's new to me.
That you wouldn't turn around and say dining halls and assembly spaces to be treated as separate compartments where exceeding 280 meters squared. I don't get why they'd say that.
Plus 280 meters squared is tiny for a dining hall, isn't it? Tiny.
280. Hang on, maths. 28 by
10.
I am very tired. No, because I was sitting there trying to work out. Well, 10 meters wide isn't particularly big, and 28 meters long isn't particularly big. But most of the time, when I do compartmentation drawings of schools for that anyway, we'd always put dining halls pretty much as compartments anyway.
Yeah.
And halls. It was just a weird one.
That's why I don't know that one. I haven't seen that, and the only number I'm aware of for that is for firefighting operation, not for compartmentation or anything like that. Yeah.
Well, have we run out of time, or are you going to talk about your apart hotel?
I think we've run out of time, but I really want to do. Well, I do want to do it next week, and I'm going to take some photographs, because I'm in to tease it very briefly. And if anyone has ideas and insights, share them before we do it on next week's show, or maybe the week after, because we've got a pre-recorded one that might drop next week. We'll see, but. I'm in an apart hotel.
We're not quite sure when it's going to drop, and also I'm also on holiday in 2 weeks, so we're not quite sure whether it will drop when I'm on holiday or whether I will be recording from a beach from poolside in Portugal, as I have done in the past.
It strikes me as logical that the pre-recorded goes out week after next, doesn't it? Whilst you're on leave. It's a good episode with some insurance folks, so we're going to learn about that. But then next week we'll do some more technical, right? I've got some law stuff to do, because I've got some good stuff there. My colleague Tom has shared a case with me. I'm excited to share. And I want to do apart hotels, because I'm staying in one this week for the first time ever. So it is a hotel room that you walk into, but I have my own kitchen and wardrobe, and it is like a small apartment. And the thing that strikes me with it is that it's single stair, so it's designed like a residential building. But it doesn't have ventilation, because it's kind of a blur between hotel and resi, and I'm quite interested in it. So if anyone's ever worked on one, do write in and let us know how you solved it, because I was thinking, if I were in the position of having to design this, what would I do? And I don't.
My hotel hasn't got AOVs at the stair head. I'm pointing because there is a stair just there, and there's a stair at the other end. They've not got AOVs at the top.
Well, a hotel typically wouldn't, nor would you ventilate corridors, but because it's commercial, it would be on the basis of 2 stairs. It wouldn't be a single stair. But I'm in a single stair. Yeah, this is 2 stairs.
You're a single stair building.
So I'm in what is essentially a hotel, but it doesn't have ventilation of the corridors or the stairs. It has just 1 stair. But I also have a kitchen in my hotel room, which is open plan, and the hob is next to the door. So I don't know. So I'm going to discuss that next week.
No way. Really?
Yeah. So the hob is the hob is there next to the door.
You don't have to turn it around. We don't need to see your pants. It's fine.
I was going to, but my pants are there, as you quite rightly said. I've just unpacked my clothes and strewn them across the room, and I don't need to show that. But yeah, so I'm going to do that next week if you'll permit me, and if anyone has any ideas, write into the show and let us know.
Cool. Well, thanks everybody for watching. Thanks everybody for listening. I'm enjoying that. I like it. I know some people get a bit confused when we do technical stuff. I mean, if my sister's managed to listen this far, normally she listens to the first bit when we laugh, and then when it gets to the technical bit, she switches it off. So if my sister's managed to make it through, that's quite impressive. But
what's your sister's name, Jude?
Susan. Hi, Sue. Well done.
Hi, future Susan. We'll do a special feature for you in a future episode. Write in and let us know, and we'll do that instead of a technical one. We'll do a Susan show.
it'll be relating to CVs and getting new jobs, probably.
Okay. If she wants to be a graduate fire engineer in London, I'm desperate at the moment. Do write in and let me know. I just had to drop that in, Jude. Sorry. If anyone's looking for a fire engineer job, do write into the show. Care of recruiter at Joe's company at notallfire.com, and I'll sort you out.
Joe loves new trainee fire engineers, don't you?
I do indeed. Yeah. Right. Should we call it, Jude?
I think so. See everybody next week. Take care then.
See everyone. Bye guys.